Is this 2 o'clock meeting starting?
2 o'clock. We'll call to order June 24th, 2 p.m. Sparks City Council meeting with a roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Ed Lawson is absent. City Council Member Ward 1, Donald Abbott, Mayor Pro Tem.
Here.
Diane Vanderwell.
Here.
Paul Anderson.
Here.
Charlene Bybee.
Here.
Christopher Dare.
Here.
Dion Louthan, City Manager. City Attorney Wes Duncan. We have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have Pastor Neat Randomilizion here today by chance? I don't see anyone. Councilman Dare, would you mind? Please rise.
Celebrating or coming with news or letting us know, let us listen well. We come before you and give you this day. Please be with our first responders, our military, Lord, those who are running towards things as everyone else gets to run away. We give you this day. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Will our birthday woman, Julie Torres, pledge of allegiance today, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We've got Deborah Mann. Yep. So if Deborah is here. Yeah, if you can just come down here, press the button, green is on, red is off, just for one of the mics. And if you need the overhead, let us know. Yeah, yep, you're on. Oh, you were on. Oh, you're on.
Hello. My name is Deborah Mann, and I am here on behalf of my neighborhood to give a face to all the people that do not want any kind of expansion above what was agreed in the handbook for the storage unit. I have, in one outing, 29 signatures for just one street of the 76 homes. Not a single neighbor wishes to see this being built over the one story. We are an established neighborhood of over 8 years. Our children go to the school that sits just behind it. And actually, I'm the newest one to the neighborhood. I moved in on August 23rd of last year, and I did do my due diligence. I wanted to know what was going to go on that property, because anybody knows if there's barren property, there's plans for it. And of those plans, I bought my house according to this handbook. I invested in this community. I am from out of state. And I was absolutely shocked. I haven't even been here a year. And I figured if I did my due diligence and I saw what was going to be built there, then that's what was going to be built there, because that's what was agreed on many years ago. You know, these homes have been in existence for 9 years. Nothing has ever been built on that property. Everyone I talked to, including original homeowners, have all been waiting for a one-story. We have no problem with the one-story because that was the agreement. And we agreed to move into that neighborhood knowing that that was the plan. And I just implore you to please come to my neighborhood. Every person in the neighborhood would welcome you into their home so that you would see the impact that putting any kind of structure more than one story would have on our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Graham Bishop, followed by Dale Sanderson.
My name's Graham Bishop, and on September 19th of last year, I moved into the Truckee Heights apartment building, and I was lied to and discovered a couple weeks later that it was best for me to prepare myself. So I have prepared and printed out this packet for all of you to discuss, read, and look at and evaluate, and hopefully you'll come to the same conclusion that if city managers, these people are violating our laws, our rights, and they're doing stuff that they're violating their own rules. And there are other people who will testify on my behalf that as a small group, we're trying to accomplish something. And the thing I'm asking for you is to get your heads together and provide me with a pro bono attorney. I spoke with this gentleman over here 2 weeks ago. He provided me with some websites and some phone numbers that I got from people here, and nobody's replied to me in 2 weeks. And I'm sorry, but I'm at a dead end, and we need an attorney to do and consider this so that we can put these people in their place, and you can save some respect for the city of Sparks. And that's about all I have to say, and I hope you all enjoy reading it, and I hope I haven't made too many errors in my spelling.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Dale Sanderson, followed by Mark Markel.
Is there anyone else that would need a packet?
I think we all got one, it looks like. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dale Sanderson, a Sparks native and a tennis player of some 60-plus years here, having first learned in a Sparks rec program at Burgess Park in the 1960s and mid-60s, then as a tennis instructor for Parks and Rec in summers of 68 and 69. I've found lately, though, that my aging abilities are more suited to pickleball. And so I wanted to thank the council here for the improvements that they've made at Burgess Park, where I learned, although at that time I think it was known as Northmore Park. But at Burgess Park and Opio Park, you've gone from a tennis court where you can have at most 4 people playing to 4 pickleball courts on the same footprint, now with 16 people playing. And so it's much improved. You can go out there now in the evenings or early morning this time of year, and both of those locations are just packed. So I want to thank you for recognizing the improving popularity of pickleball. We are working with the Parks and Rec staff and have provided them with a layout, court striping layout for the basketball courts at Eagle Canyon. And it would make that a truly multi-use area. Many pickleball players have their own portable nets, which I have one. And so the striping is really all that would be required out there. And so, again, I want to thank you for the improvements that you have made, and we'd like to continue working with you on further improvements. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sanderson. Mark Markel, followed by Tom Dunn. We're bringing you a mic. We're on our way.
You can only run that fast.
A Yucaipa man was in critical condition Friday at Loma Linda University Medical Center, where he was taken for treatment of head injuries after a car crash, the authorities said. Driver was driving. Vehicle rolled over.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Hi, my name is Mark. Manager I don't know. But I like to think it up beyond. I was involved in, God filled me alive. Doctors God filled me alive to show, like, show what can happen. It's getting this, what can happen. Like the article said, I was instructed me out of the car. I can't, I walk out. And I can't take, I just don't want to see this out. I had a wife, but up this kid drugs and 3 years in drugs. They take for, and I have kids that disown me because they, I but they figured I should take care of them. I couldn't, because I kind of anyway, I just don't want to see this house get out.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Tom Dunn, followed by William Stewart.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council, City Manager Luthan. My name is Tom Dunn, Vice President of the Reno Firefighters Association. First of all, I'd like to welcome Mr. Luthan to the city of Sparks and our gorgeous community here in Truckee Meadows. And I want you to hear it today in the public that you have the commitment of Local 731 to work with you collaboratively to address public safety issues both within the city of Sparks and regionally. Second thing I have for you today is thanks to Acting City Manager Croftforth for his leadership and integrity while acting as a city manager and treating all city employees with dignity and respect over the last 9 months. It has not gone unnoticed within the community, within your employees, as well as your retirees, that there has been a significant and distinct change in how the city is operating since last fall. And finally, today, I'll be here to speak, hopefully at some point, on the settlement agreement with the Fire Prevention Bureau. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. William Stewart. And that's all the cards I have. If there's anyone else that wants to make, I got a few more.
Good afternoon, elected officials. William T. Stewart for the record. 2 years ago, Roe versus Wade was overturned. I'm here to talk to you about abortion because that's going to be on our ballot this November. And what I'm reading from is from the Nevada Right to Life, current Nevada abortion law. If people don't know it, Nevadans voted in 1990 on Question 7 abortion referendum, effectively freezing abortion law. No legislator, governor, or elected person can change it, only the vote of the people. Abortion is legal up to 6 months, that's right now, for any reason or no reason. Abortions must be performed by a licensed physician. After 6 months, for the health of the mother, abortions must be done in a licensed hospital. So this is what the other side wants, and they're throwing millions of dollars at it. Reproductive Rights Amendment, Section 1. All individuals shall have a fundamental right to abortion performed or administered by a qualified healthcare practitioner until fetal viability, or when needed to protect the life or health of the pregnant patient without interference from the state or its political subdivisions. The right established by this section shall not be denied, burdened, or infringed upon, unless justified by a compelling state interest that is achieved by the least restrictive means. So what does this amendment do? A constitutional amendment provides the boundaries that all laws, past, present, and future, must fit within. The Reproductive Rights Amendment is vague. Judges will decide abortion law. Judges. The people will have no say once it passes. It eliminates parental involvement. The amendment extends reproductive rights to everyone, all individuals, which includes minors, eliminating any requirement for parental consent or notification prior to a minor child's abortion. Parents or guardians should be involved and provide consent in all medical decisions of their underage children. Abortion is no different. And it's unsafe for women. Amendment replaces licensed physician with healthcare practitioner. It's very vague. Without interference from the state, endangers important health and safety standards that women should depend on and will benefit from. And they're gonna try to take this all the way out to 9 months. Fetal viability, the point after which abortion is not allowed, will be defined by the healthcare practitioner, not a doctor. The person making money decides whether the baby is viable and allowed to live. Current law specifies 6 months limit. They want no limit. All clinical health and safety regulations to protect women will be jeopardized, and it's unsafe. And then just one real quick, I know you guys are going to be talking about the REMS agreement. Whatever contract you can give them that limits them the most. We have paramedics now in our fire stations, on our fire trucks. Patient care is paramount. The person who contacts the patient the first should take them to the hospital. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, sir. We have Sabrina Stevens, followed by William Warren, possibly. William W. That is definitely Bill Wagner. Yes.
Hi. So I'm just a renter. I'm renting a property on Sullivan, 1650, and my gate is 4 inches long. So my landlord keeps getting complaints from the city that the gate has to be 3 inches. So he was gonna cut the gate, but I have a German Shepherd pit bull dog, and the dog is like really not so friendly. And there's school kids passing by every day, and the gate needs to stay high, and they want to cut the gate. So I tried talking with the people, the city people, to not cut the gate, and they said I would have to come here to ask you guys. So I'm like pleading and begging, like if we cut that gate, my dog can't go outside, and he's an outside dog. And it's really dangerous because there's school kids constantly passing by, and because we live on the main street there of Sullivan, and there's constantly people passing by from the bus stop. There's constantly people passing by, and if that gate does get lower, I know the dog will just jump out and chaos would happen, and it's dangerous for the kids, for the people crossing. That little whatever 1 or 2 inches more that the gate is, it's keeping the dog, safe, and the people safe on the other side. So I'm pleading with you guys. I'm just a renter. I signed a year lease. I've been there for a couple years now. I'm not planning to move. I'm pleading with you guys, if you guys could leave the gate the height it is now. I think it's at 4 inches or a little above 4 inches. And your guys' law, I believe, is 3 inches. So it's really not that much of a big difference, but it really is for me and for the dog and for the people, because that's what I'm here for. If you guys could please find it upon your heart, just that one little gate along Sullivan. It's not that long. It's like from this door to like the end of your guys' building here. And I just would love that gate to stay the way it is. If you guys could do that, that would be wonderful. I don't know. I don't know if it's a yes or no. I never did this before. I never been here before. My first time doing anything like this.
Yes, I think we'll have City Manager Mr. Luthen to reach out to you. We can't say yes or no from
Okay, I
right
appreciate
here, but
that, yeah.
we'll make sure we get someone.
My landlord, he told me, you go ahead, if you could go and ask them, he didn't want to go and come here and ask, so he just told me to go, so this is why I'm here today.
It's like Mr. Our City Manager's coming around to give you a card, and you can probably reach out to him,
Okay.
try to help resolve it.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Sabrina. Mr. Wagner, I believe this is you. And we are working on bringing a microphone over to you.
Usually. He's coming in.
Thank you. Thank you. Record, my name is Steve Wagner. To the Mayor Pro.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? All the cards I believe I have. I don't see any. We will go to item 5.1, approval of the agenda. Looking for a motion or any amendments. Councilman Anderson.
Move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Councilman Dare.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Passes unanimously. Item 6.1, consideration and possible approval of the minutes for the Sparks City Council meeting for June 10th, 2024. Looking for a motion or any amendments. Councilwoman Bybee.
I move to approve the minutes of the Sparks City Council meeting as presented for June 10th, 2024.
Councilwoman Vanderwall.
Second.
A motion and a second. Please vote. Passes unanimously. 7.1, boards and commission vacancy announcements. City Manager Luthen.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Abbott. We have one vacancy on the Sparks Enterprise Fund Advisory Committee for a commercial construction representative. This position is for a 4-year term ending July 1st of 2028. Applications will be accepted until 5 p.m. on July 5th, 2024. Persons interested in serving on this committee should complete a community service application online at the city's website, www.cityofsparks.us/getinvolved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 7.2, presentation of the City of Sparks Resident Survey.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem Abbott and City Council members. For the record, I'm Allison McCormick, your Assistant City Manager. About a year ago, the city contracted with ETC Institute to conduct a community survey. The survey was conducted earlier this calendar year, and I am pleased to introduce Ryan Murray from ETC Institute, who will take the reins on presenting the survey.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, for being here this afternoon. It's a pleasure to be back in Nevada, specifically in Reno. It's a beautiful area of the country. Excuse me, I apologize. I flew into Reno. I apologize. We're also staying in Reno, so I apologize for that. I, as you can see, have been across the country performing these same types of presentations across the country to other boards, commissions, council members. And for the last 40 years, ETC Institute's been in business, but really for the last 35, the focus has been municipal governments. We've been doing surveys, as you can see, across the country for different municipalities. We work with state DOTs frequently, as well as county governments. And really, the end goal is to help you all make better decisions, help your staff learn a little bit more about the community. And we do that with kind of a rigorous scientific backbone to the data that I'll get into in just a minute. But before we do that, the purpose of this survey is really threefold. It's an objective assessment. We want to go out to residents. We want to ask them questions for which they can tell us how they feel, what their opinions are, what their perceived values are. We want to be able to compare your performance. The contextualization of the results is one of the key pieces here. If we're performing poorly in a particular area and everybody else in the country is performing poorly as well, then we have an idea that that's a struggle everywhere we go versus being a struggle here in Sparks alone. And then the other thing, the last thing, we're going to help determine priorities for improvement. And we do that through a specific design feature in the survey. So even if all 100% of our residents were completely satisfied with every single question on the survey, based on the survey design, we still would have developed some priorities for improvement for you. So that's our important satisfaction analysis, and we'll discuss that a little bit more when we get to it. Also, the full methodologies in the report. So if I miss anything today, if I can't answer a question today, I'll get a written response back to staff. But all of the analysis for the important satisfaction analysis, as well as our full survey methodologies found in the report. Just a little bit about this survey. As Allison mentioned, this is the first time we've engaged with the City of Sparks for a community survey. We mailed those surveys to a random selection of households within your city's limits. So I requested from your city GIS shape files that showed all your city limits with your city wards. What we do from there is purchase a list of residential addresses from every single zip code that touches any part of your city limit, even if it's outside in the city of Reno, potentially. What we do from there is plot every single one of those addresses. And what I've purchased is a master USPS mailing list for each one of the zip codes that's adjacent to or inside your city's limits. From there, I exclude everybody that's outside, I include everybody that's inside, I randomize the numbers, and I select about 2,500 households to receive the survey. From that, we'll mail that survey out. That packet includes a postage-paid return envelope, a cover letter that explains the purpose of the survey, and really a call to action. Please complete the survey. You can do it either via online, via a web URL, there are also QR codes, or you can complete it and return it back in the mail to us. At the end of the day, we collected 571 completed surveys, which provides us a margin of error that's about 4% at the 95% level of confidence. So what that means is if I went through that entire process again, purchased all your addresses, randomized them, selected just a few, mailed the surveys, followed up until reaching a demographically representative proportion of responses compared to your population, we should get these same results 95 out of 100 times, plus or minus that margin of error of 4%. We'll see a couple of pie charts where the responses were yes, no. In any instance where a pie chart is 50-50 right down the middle, yes, no, we should expect 95 out of 100 times for these results to kind of fluctuate between about 54% or 46% in that yes, no category. And that is just kind of the applicable margin of error for these types of results. It's really an industry standard. And what we did was actually collect a lot of surveys. So 571 is pretty big, or a pretty large sample size for a community with about 100,000, a little over 100,000 people. And we actually complete surveys that actually receive about 300 surveys for similarly sized organizations. The only real difference there is that the margin of error begins to climb over that 5%. And that's where some communities kind of say, hey, you know, that's a little bit too far out of a threshold, or hey, we would very much like to have more concise results. But each one of the results basically have this margin of error applied to them. When we're collecting the results, it's important to note that we're not just randomizing the surveys, mailing them out, and then getting back what we need. What we are doing is continually following up with your residents until we get a representative proportion of responses in race, ethnicity categories, age categories, and other demographics. But one of the most important demographics, and the reason why we ask for your shape files, is to make sure that we have good representation from throughout the community. And so, as you can see on the map, we got surveys from across the city. It's a good representation of households. What we do is we actually know the home address of all the respondents, but we geolocate that or basically round it to the nearest intersection of your street. So it's never an exact home address that we provide, and these have all been rounded and kind of, just to the nearest area. When we talk about bottom line up front, I want to give you just a few key takeaways from the results. Overall, Derek and I, the colleague that I brought with me today, were discussing on the way over how your results are strong. Overall perceptions are extremely high in the community. Nearly 85% of respondents indicated that they're satisfied with the city as a place to live. That's 30 percentage points above our U.S. and regional averages. When we talk about things about, how's the future, how's the city heading in the right direction, over 80% or nearly 80% of respondents indicated they're satisfied with overall quality of life in their neighborhood, and about 2/3 indicated they expect or they believe the city's headed in the right direction, so the positive outlook is there. As I mentioned earlier, even though 100% of respondents could have been satisfied with every question, we designed the survey in a way to develop some top priorities. So our top priorities for improvement over the next couple of years in order to improve overall satisfaction would be to focus on the condition of our city streets and pavement. That is a common issue in communities of this size that perform very well in our other areas. It's an area that is continuous improvement. I'm sure your public works director can attest to that. I'm sure there's also a schedule across town, and that can also have an impact on perceptions. For example, if you do a neighborhood that's adjacent to another neighborhood, and sometimes we do quarterly surveys, you can actually see once the mill and overlay is complete, the other neighborhood's now more dissatisfied than they were before, and they're seeing what others have. And so that's a actually good priority for us to have, and enforcement of city codes is very similar. You might have a neighbor for which you believe is out of code. You might call the city, ask for them to take a look at it. If they're not out of code, you're upset because that particular issue didn't get resolved to your satisfaction. If your neighbor is out of code, now somebody else is upset. It's that person that was out of code. They're either forced to move their vehicle or mow their lawn, whatever that might be. And so this is kind of the bottom line. I'm going to take you through the major findings here, starting with perceptions. Overall, residents have an extremely positive perception of the city. If we look towards the top of this item, really overall feeling of safety in Sparks and up, including Sparks as a place to do business, all received over 50% very satisfied and satisfied responses. The item that just barely makes that mark at the bottom is the overall quality of services provided by the city, but at 54%, a majority of our respondents are indicated that they're very satisfied or satisfied with the overall services that are provided by the community, in comparison to only 1 out of 10 who'd say, hey, I'm not satisfied, I'm dissatisfied, or very dissatisfied. The core areas that I look at continually when I see these items are always at the top. I've been doing this for 15 years. The top 4 items that you have are the top 4 items I'd expect in a high-performing community in terms of very satisfied and satisfied responses in a perceptions-related question. And based on the way that trends have turned across the country over the last couple of years, the items towards the bottom of this list are the items that I would expect to be there as well. That's value received for tax dollars and fees, quality of your education system, new development, and affordability of housing, which have been top issues across the country. We have elevated dissatisfied remarks there. It's not always a reflection of our performance, but more of the perception of what's going on in our communities and in our country that can be influenced by anything from local TV news to social media. And so these are perception-related items. The items that are directly related to your performance in Sparks are at the top. Overall quality of life in our neighborhood, in our city. The city is a place to live. The city is a place to raise my family. That item that you're going to go out to the other parts of the country and say, hey, I live in Sparks. It's a great place to raise my family, is a completely different story than education is contentious, affordable housing is hard to find, development is tough, those types of issues. And so those are kind of at the bottom. The items that are really core to our future success are towards the top. When we talk about overall satisfaction of city services, we did this with multiple categories that you'll find on this list. But I'm going to show you the overall core services here. And our 2 priorities for improvement are the items with elevated dissatisfied and very dissatisfied numbers. We'll talk a little bit more about that analysis, but because of those elevated dissatisfied responses, that's why those items are partially becoming top priorities. But you can see that you've performed very well again in your core services, such as public safety, fire and police services, sewer, emergency medical, parks and recreation. And I know you're going to have a little announcement on parks and recreation later in your meeting as well. We also see mowing and trimming along city streets, which is kind of an appearance item, and efforts to ensure your community is prepared for emergencies, which has been something that a lot of communities ask lately, but struggle mightily. It's really a communications issue for the most part, it seems. You will find an appendix to your report with GIS maps. I know I showed you the dot map, but what we try to do is shade these maps using those census block groups, and the number of responses within each one can have an impact on the overall shading of the results. But what we want to do is make sure that everybody understands, take these maps with a grain of salt. Sometimes, and particularly, I'm going to focus on that orange area to the south portion of your community. While condition of streets, pavement, and sidewalks received a lower average rating in that individual census block group, it might not be an indication that the streets are a problem there. It just might be an indication of varying perceptions from that particular group. And so city staff can usually hint at that or clue us in. If there are problems with the streets, that's a really great sign for the map. But it's not always an issue of where we live is where we're having problems. And I think this map is indicative of that as well, where we have an orange area, an area shaded into that 4th category, that dissatisfied category. It might not be that code enforcement is difficult there, but it might be residents from that area have issues with code enforcement nearby. Overall, our top 2 priorities for improvement still show some shading of blue. Averages out to neutral, with only 2 census block groups in each one of the maps that show any kind of dissatisfaction, which suggests your overall results are pretty high. Folks generally have a positive perception of the items that we're rating here, but they could use a little bit of assistance in order to push satisfaction up again. Sticking with perceptions, we asked respondents if they feel things are generally headed in the right direction. 63% said yes. Another 60 or so % indicated in their neighborhood things are heading in the right direction. When we asked respondents to rate their agreement with various statements, I want to really call out that bottom one first. That is a negative statement where we see an inverse of those responses. That's actually a positive sign where folks are disagreeing about being worried or stressed about not having money to pay vital expenses like rent, mortgage, or food. The other three items, residents in Spark have good access to groceries, internet service, healthcare services where they live. When we talk about additional agreement statings, most respondents indicated that they'd be supportive of an immigrant household if they moved in next door to them, or the city promotes diversity in my community. While there's high levels of neutral responses, we would suggest those are typically a passing grade, based on the idea that most of your community is either white or Hispanic or a mixed white Hispanic. There's not a lot of opportunity for those responses to kind of pick up in some of these survey results. So when we do these representative surveys, we're applying the results to the general population. Generally, folks think that maybe you're not overly promoting diversity, but they're neutral to the sense if maybe they're not hearing about it. In the last 12 months, again, another negative statement, which strongly agree ratings are actually positive in the final one. Other community members in the community, less than 5% strongly agree that their household has experienced any kind of discrimination while using city services. So overall, throughout the course of all those perception questions, you'll see it in your report, overall residents have a very positive perception of the community. This holds true when we look at benchmarks. So again, contextualizing your results are really important. Some of the areas in the survey, you might say, hey, quality of the education system at 32%, is that where we want to be? Now, I know as a council member myself, actually I'm a mayor pro tem in my own community, significantly smaller than Sparks, but I know as a city leader, I can't necessarily impact my public school education. I don't have enough of a hand in that situation. But we also see that others in the mountain region, which include Colorado, Montana, some of our other nearby states also struggle with this. Yes, nationally, the number's a little bit higher, but Sparks is right there in the mix with the mountain average. Overall value for city tax dollars and fees at 41%. Council might be thinking to themselves, goodness, how do we relay how well we're doing managing the budget? Well, you are doing a pretty good job, and although residents aren't overly positive about it, you're significantly above our U.S. and regional averages, which again provides a lot of background information that you otherwise might not have. When we talk about overall quality of services continued, we see fire services, EMS, parks and recreation all topping the list. You're very competitive with your police. And then we see a couple of other significant differences towards the bottom. Again, enforcement of city codes and ordinances, one of our top priorities for improvement. We're right along the line of the mountain and U.S. average, just barely a difference of 4 percentage points there overall. So the benchmarks can provide us a lot of additional information that we might otherwise not have, or we might otherwise misinterpret a result without. When we talk about priorities for investment, we are talking about those core satisfaction questions. In the survey instrument, if any of you saw it, after those core satisfaction questions come up, usually there's about 12 items or so in them, we'll ask for respondents to select a smaller number of those as which ones should be emphasized or which ones are really most important to your household. This is the displayed responses of those. As you can see, 63%, almost 2/3 of our respondents who rated the satisfaction of the condition of streets, pavement, and sidewalks in Sparks indicated that was one of the areas that they'd like for you to see improved over the next couple of years or see some emphasis given to. Police services received extremely high satisfaction ratings at about 67%. It's also 40% of respondents say, hey, continue to maintain that level of service, continue to keep police services towards the top of my list. And then codes enforcement and ordinances is another area where we're below average satisfaction and above average in our emphasis question, which is another reason why it pops up as our high priority for improvement. The way this analysis really works is that if items like sewer or water services received really low satisfaction ratings, this chart tells us they're not having an overall impact on our generalized satisfaction, or hey, we'd be asking you to promote those items. What the analysis suggests is that if we focus on items that are at the top of this list, those top 2 items in particular, we should have an ability to make an impact on the perceived satisfaction moving forward with the overall quality of city services. So based on the analysis, it suggests that the streets, pavement, sidewalks, and Sparks, along with enforcement of city codes and ordinances, is likely to have the greatest impact on our overall perceived notion of how the city's delivering services in the future. On the inverse of that, if we're to dramatically increase our fire services, our sewer, EMS, our parks and recreation facilities and programs, residents are likely going to enjoy those increases in service delivery, but it's not going to move the needle in terms of how do I feel generally about Sparks. Folks generally feel very satisfied about the community. They're very positive when we ask perception-related items. Those items at the bottom of the list are not going to move the needle like items at the top were. Now, I've highlighted this a little bit differently than you'll find in your report based on those ratings. When I have an opportunity to present these results in person, I like to break it down a little bit more. Based on the rating scales, the efforts to ensure we're prepared for emergencies, effectiveness of communication, and police services all could potentially become top priorities if we slip in our satisfaction ratings just slightly based on their sum of the top 3 choices in this chart. That's why I've highlighted those items in that lighter red color. And then mowing and trimming along city streets and other public areas is sometimes, from my focus group experience, directly related to code enforcement. And so I feel like I wanted to highlight that one just a little bit differently based on where it landed, just to give council and staff a little bit of an insight into what I've seen from other communities and how this analysis typically will work over time. When we talk about communication, the reason I like to bring it up in presentations is because it's one of the key factors to continued success. During COVID, our firm really slowed down. Municipalities were worried about running surveys during those times where we were all kind of cooped up. So we did a lot of extra research. We engaged one of our local universities who's got a great data analytics department. They took about 40 years of historical data from different communities and found out that beyond customer service of your employees, one of the areas that has the greatest impact on overall satisfaction is communication. And as communication ebbs and flows in satisfaction, so do these satisfaction rankings over time. Now, that is a very longitudinal study, like I said, 30 or 40 years, but it's really important to maintain levels of high quality communication, which includes your website. About 50% of respondents, about half of our community indicated they've used our website over the last 12 months. As you can see on the screen here, most folks are generally satisfied with that, with just barely under 10% of anybody being dissatisfied with that particular experience. When we ask about folks who've contacted us by phone, online, or by visiting the city, it's a much smaller number. Only about 1 in 4 have contacted us that way. Primarily, the reason that they're going to contact us is to either ask a question, file a request, or a complaint. Very few folks are calling to compliment, but I'm sure staff can attest to that. In my many years working with cities, I know that folks aren't calling us to let us know how great of a job we've done over the last couple of years. The key notion here is that folks are asking a question and there's a lot of red tape. So sometimes staff have to say, hey, that's a state highway. You need to call DOT. Or, hey, that's a county issue. You need to call somebody else. And so the questions can lead to dissatisfied responses just as much as the requests that we can't handle. And then the complaints obviously are going to typically lead to somebody being dissatisfied. But what we found when we asked respondents who'd contacted you, how did that contact go? Majority of them, over 65% in every category, are very satisfied or somewhat satisfied with the ability of that employee to assist. So as you can see how easy it was to contact, level of courteousness, technical competence, and overall satisfaction with the customer service experience is at 36%. And I just like to highlight that when I'm on site. Every single front-facing staff member, including your city manager, assistant city managers, are doing a phenomenal job taking care of the needs of Sparks residents when they contact us, when they come to us directly. And that's a really important note. In addition to some of this communication stuff, we did ask respondents what sources they use to get information about the city. Local television news was by far the #1 source of information. That can have a dramatic impact on some of those original perception items that we were looking at to start: the education, the affordable housing issue, as well as new development in the community. With you all being so close to a larger city, you're likely also hearing all of that news, whether it be crime or development. You're hearing it in the city of Sparks, and you know it's close by, and it can have a dramatic impact on your perceptions. The other good note here is that your city website's in second place. Half of folks said that they've visited the website. 53% said that they've indicated that it's one of the most common sources of information for them. If we can continue to maintain that website, continue those high positive scores in terms of perceptions, we'll continue to be in a good spot, even though television news is really taking the top spot in many suburban communities. In summary, your residents have a very positive perception. Staff have done an excellent job providing services to the city. It couldn't be done without the guidance and leadership of elected officials. 84% of respondents are either very satisfied or satisfied with the city's placed. Again, 30 percentage points. A significant difference is going to be one that exceeds your margin of error of 4 percentage points. You're 26 percentage points above that being significant. So that's a huge mark. Most respondents continue to feel like you're heading in the right direction. About 2/3 said, hey, the city and my neighborhood are both heading in the right direction or have improved. And when we talk about improvements, if it can continue to relate information related to our plans to improve our streets, pavement, and sidewalks, that will go a long way in terms of setting those expectations for residents in the future, which can actually have a major impact on satisfaction, even if you don't improve the streets. And we've seen that in other studies that we've done across time. And the other one is enforcement of city codes and ordinances. One of the best case studies for that is a community close to our home actually sent out, they still do, they send out twice a year in the spring and in the fall, the list of the most common code infractions. They send that to the entire city in the spring. It's the common ones are grass, boat parking. In the fall, it's usually going to be snow issues or parking in the street. And they saw a dramatic decrease in the overall number of code enforcement violations. They actually, and this is good and bad, but they actually released 2 of their code enforcement employees about 2 years after starting that program because they just didn't need the development services anymore. So with that, I'll take any questions. As I mentioned, I'll do my best to answer anything with the report that I can here today. If I can't get your question answered fully and honestly, I'll get a written response back to staff.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? No? You think you did a great job. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.
7.3 presentation, Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful, Darcy Phillips.
Hello, everybody. I'm Darcy Phillips. I'm the Executive Director of Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful. It's nice to see you all. Thanks for having me. Some of our most favorite volunteers are sitting in front of me, so thank you for the support. We're in our 35th year. We had quite the exciting year. Uh-oh, what did I do? Sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, of course.
Technology is supposed to make our lives
Yeah,
easier.
it's great until it's not.
Right. Oh, perfect. There it is. Okay. So yes, we are in our 35th year. I'm coming up on my first year with KTMB, so learning all the things. I've got a whole lot of stats for you, and I'll be quick. We've got a lot of general stats and then a lot of Spark-specific information for you. Christmas tree recycling this year, it was a good year. We had 8,000 trees saved from the landfill and turned into mulch that we're now continuing to use in parks around the municipalities here. Our numbers were down a little bit this year. We usually have about 10,000 trees, and we're not sure if it was because trees are so expensive now or if people have moved to artificial trees or if we're just counting them better this year, which is possible. So we'll see if that's a trend that goes over a few years, but we're still happy with 8,000 trees. That's a whole lot of trees that are doing something better than they would be in the landfill. We have one site in Sparks, and we just couldn't do this program. We're a staff of about 8, 9, depending on the time, and we have hundreds of volunteers that help out. And we're very grateful for all of our partners, including the City of Sparks, on this project. Great community cleanup. We just finished it. Biggest year we've ever had. We had over 1,000 volunteers, over 100 tons of litter and green waste picked up. We had almost 2,500 tires removed this year, which is just insane number of tires, and there's bazillions more. But it was a great year. We got a lot out. And in Sparks, we had almost 200 volunteers. We were at 4 different locations, and you can see some of the stats there. We get, just so you know, we get this direction on where to go from your staff. Parks mostly are telling us what needs attention and what work we need to do. But as things change, as enforcement is changing and people are moving around and hotspots are not hotspots anymore, or we have new hotspots, if you're out and about and see a spot that's on public property that needs some attention, I hope you'll reach out and let us know. Truckee River cleanup, which will be in September this year. This is last year's information. Again, a pretty big, one of our biggest. We had over 700 volunteers, 3 locations in Sparks, lots of trash, litter. We had a lot of green waste last year because of the heavy winter we had before, so lots of invasive weeds that we removed. But still, also always lots of tires, storm drains, all of those things, graffiti removal. So we're keeping very busy. And these are all the partners we work with locally. I will tell you one thing that was born out of my very first meeting with you, Councilman. It's taken a year, but we're working on it. We're trying to work on some legislation to make some of the illegal dumping and vehicle removal a little easier. The steps, I was so young and naive when you and I first talked about this. It's really difficult to get these vehicles that are dumped, say in Golden Eagle Park or up on Peavine out. It takes a whole lot of coordination, and we're going to try and remove some of those barriers and see if we can make that easier. That's certainly a long-term goal. I hope we'll get there. But thanks for the inspiration on that. So thank you all. We are so grateful to all of you. We're grateful to the city. The park staff is phenomenal. I'm glad to be here today when you guys are doing a proclamation about it. So thank you. Any questions?
Any questions, comments?
Sorry, I guess that was your question.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I'll take all the help I can get today. I don't see anything.
All right.
Oh, sorry. Councilman Anderson.
Darcy?
Yes.
No questions for you. I just want to say thank you for doing a phenomenal job. I am so proud of KTMB. Always an honor, whether it's a Christmas tree recycling, river cleanups, great community cleanups. You and your team do a phenomenal job of rallying our community to make a better place to live. And it's just so amazing to see. I mean, it's quite frankly depressing to see that we're picking up thousands and thousands of pounds of trash. But a lot of it is just broken branches and trees and weeds and things that need to be cleaned up. But I just want to say thank you. You guys are doing a phenomenal job. The fact that this has been a sustainable organization for that long shows the success of the leadership. And I realize you've only been in there for 1 year, but you're doing great so far. Just keep up the good work. And yeah, please let us know if there's anything that we can do to aid you guys.
Thank you.
And then likewise for the City of Sparks Public Works team, amazing. They are fantastic being there side by side, working with all of us to get the job done. So thank you. Well done.
It takes a village. It really does.
Amen.
And we could be out there every weekend, unfortunately. But yes, thank you. I appreciate it. It's a great organization, and we are appreciative for all the partners.
Councilman Dare?
Yeah, and I just want to commend you for working with legislation. If there's anything we can do to help, please make sure we're aware.
Okay,
because
I will reach out.
We do agree with you 100%.
Something needs to be done.
Thank you.
It's ridiculous how difficult it is to get a vehicle off of somewhere. It's insane. So thank you. I'll reach out. I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you. A good one. Proclamation for Parks and Recreation Month. Councilwoman Vanderwell.
Thank you. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including Sparks, Nevada, and whereas parks and recreation services build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for individuals with mental or physical disabilities, and improve the mental and emotional health of all residents. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, arts and culture, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation programming and education activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, and early childhood education are critical to childhood development. And whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, and whereas Parks and Recreation is essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change, and whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors, and whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas the City of Sparks recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources, now therefore I, Ed Lawson, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim July 2024 as Parks and Recreation Month.
Nancy, do you want to come down? Parks and Recreation Director O'Connor, sorry.
Okay. Nancy O'Connor, Parks and Recreation Director. Mayor Pro Tem, Council, thank you so much for the recognition and the support. We greatly appreciate it. We're right in the middle of summer, so all of our programs are going. So I was able to cajole a couple here. So Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or compliments?
Compliments are always good.
Compliments are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need more of those percentages.
Right?
Well, we just heard a whole stats of how we're doing well in different areas, but I think our Parks and Rec are a huge part of that and what you bring to the community and your team, obviously. And so thank you, and I look forward to all the turkey trots and all the stuff you do. And great job. Keep it going.
Thank you.
And I'll say, I was looking through, I had a question about senior fitness programs. And obviously I look through our booklet every year. I'm an avid softball player, but I've never really paid attention to how many senior things we have. Like there's senior aquatics, I think there's senior yoga. There's so many programs there that I guess I forgot about. So thank you for all that you're doing for all the many people in our community.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I think that's it. I think photo op for you too. Thank you, thank you. We'll go to commendation for Western Regional Firefighter. I know Councilman Bybee, and then Chief, if you want to come down? I thought you were here, or whoever wants to accept it.
Whereas the 2024 West Regional Firefighter Challenge was held May 16th through the 18th at the Nugget Event Center in Sparks, Nevada, and whereas firefighters from agencies across the Western region competed for the top seed, and Sparks Firefighters Local 731 hosted the event, also known as the toughest 2 minutes in sports. And whereas the course includes 5 essential firefighting functions: high-risk pack carry, hose hoist, forcible entry, hose advance, and victim rescue, the competition with the best time in each division wins. And whereas participation in the Western Region Firefighter Challenge is a testament to the dedication of our firefighters, showcasing their outstanding abilities and the rigorous training they undergo to maintain the highest standards of emergency response. And whereas this competition not only enhances the skills and camaraderie of our firefighters, but also fosters a spirit of teamwork and excellence that benefits the entire community. And whereas our firefighters' participation in this event brings honor and recognition to our Sparks Fire Department and services as an inspiration to all. Therefore, on behalf of Mayor Ed Lawson, Mayor of the City of Sparks, we hereby join with the City Council in extending our heartfelt gratitude and commendation for our firefighters for the exemplary service, unwavering dedication, and remarkable performance in the Western Region Firefighter Challenge. Their achievements in this competition reflect the highest ideals of the Sparks Fire Department. And I would like to, I don't have names, and I'm going to turn it over to Chief White because we had some very successful, we had winners in several categories. I'm not sure if they're here today, but that's the end of the, and I'll just turn it over to you for right now.
Mayor Pro Tem Abbott and members of council, Walt White, Fire Chief, City of Sparks. First, I want to just say I'm extremely grateful to have the opportunity for us to be a host city for the challenge. It is truly a competition with a purpose, and I would say that the way that the men and women prepare to compete in this, if your home is ever on fire, this is who you want to see stepping off the truck. We had several, in fact, our department had the largest showing of competitors at the Western region, and we do have some that will be advancing on to nationals and worlds. I don't have everyone's names here, but as a fire chief, I was extremely proud to not only have Chief Gayton step up to host it, get the support from many great sponsors, including the Visitors Bureau, because all of that was essential for us to bring this in to host a regional event. Yeah, we had some of our newest members
Casey Miller, Colin Encina. There's really quite a few names, and I don't have the list in front of me right now, but I could not have been more proud as a city, how we hosted the event, and as a fire chief, the participation we got from the members of the department. So I'm also very appreciative of this acknowledgement and recognition as well.
Thanks, Chief.
I just have a big comment. And I would like to echo what the chief has said. This competition, if anybody didn't go, and we didn't get a huge crowd. It was new. People didn't know about it. It was amazing. The Nugget was phenomenal. It was at the Nugget Event Center, which was like an amazing venue. A lot of the chief is telling me in other cities, sometimes you're in a parking lot, you're on a street, and here we had the Nugget Event Center, which, with bleachers there, with the stage for setup for announcing and the course itself. It was exhausting to just watch what they did, climbing up the stairs and pulling the hoses up, and how rigorous the competition was. There was in particular when my husband and I went Saturday morning, a female firefighter from Utah, I believe, who had broken a regional record, and then she broke that record again. So to see her, I mean, it was just surreal to watch the competition. So really want to congratulate our firefighters who participated. If we bring it back again, or even other of our sister jurisdictions, encourage them to participate, because it was really something special to see, and I was honored to be able to work with Reno Sparks Convention and Visitors Authority, who is excited about the opportunity to bring that here, and maybe in the future we'd look at nationals or world championships, and the world championships are on ESPN covers the World Championships. It's like an X game type competition that is really growing, and was glad to be a part of it. And thank you, Chief, and to Tyler Gayton for all of his work. It was a lot of work, but it was great. So congratulations to all of you and to your team.
Thanks. I did have one more comment. The event was streamed live on the internet to an international audience, so it did also give an opportunity to showcase Sparks as a travel destination. And there were countless, not just the over a dozen members of our department that competed in the event, but countless members of the department that helped in the setup and the restoration of the event center, pre and post event, that enabled us to host it. So it really was a team effort. I'm absolutely thrilled to just be a small part of that team. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Chief. Any other comments? No? Thank you, sir. It was a great time down there. Oh, yeah, photo op. Do it for the gram. Yeah, congratulations. We are going to go to consent items 8.1, consideration and possible acceptance of the report of the claims and bills approved for payment and appropriation transfers for the period of May 29th, 2024 through June 10th, 2024. Looking for a motion, Councilman Anderson.
Move to approve consent item 8.1 as submitted.
Councilman Dare.
Second.
Motion and a second, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. 9.1, consideration and possible approval of resolution number 3446 to abolish the Post-Employment Medical Benefits Trust Fund, 6200. Mr. Reaper.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council members. I am Jeff Kronk, your Chief Financial Officer. That's my official title, but for the record, I do have before you kind of an accounting administrative item today. We're fast approaching the end of the fiscal year, and we're looking to start the new fiscal year, as efficient as we can. Specifically, we are looking to close a fund, the Post-Employment Medical Benefits Trust Fund, which was established in fiscal year 07. That was established in order to help us comply with GASB, or Governmental Accounting Standards Board Statement number 45. We're no longer needing that fund to comply with that standard. And that fund no longer has any resources in the fund, and we don't need that fund to conduct any or account for any transactions related to the health benefits for our employees or retirees. So essentially, this fund has become superfluous, and we're looking to close it out. All transactions going forward are going to be accounted for in the self-insurance, the city's self-insurance fund. So again, we don't need this fund going forward, and we're looking to just kind of close this on your approval. And just so you know, whenever we open a fund, we need your approval, and to close your fund, we need your approval. So again, we're looking to close this and start the new year and manage as few funds as possible and just be administratively efficient. So with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Cronk. Questions, comments? I don't see anyone. Looking for a motion. Councilwoman Vanderwell.
I move to approve resolution number 3446 to abolish the Post-Employment Medical Benefits Trust Fund 6200.
Councilman Anderson.
Second the motion?
Motion and a second, please vote.
Aye.
Those passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. 9.2. Consideration, discussion, and possible approval of resolution number 3447 to augment the FY24 budget by $3,106,000 in aggregate to provide appropriations for the general fund, Fund number 1101, Parks and Recreation Fund, Fund number 1221, and the Municipal Self-Insurance Fund, Fund 1707. Possible action.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem Abbott, members of the City Council. Resolution 3447 is our annual budget compliance item. Today, we seek your approval to augment the fiscal 24 city budget in the amount of $3,106,000. A short summary of those adjustments are included in your agenda item. And with that, I can take any questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Wayne. Any questions, comments? I don't see any. Looking for a motion. Councilman Dare.
I move to approve resolution number 3447 to augment the FY24 budget by $3,106,000 in aggregate to provide appropriations for general fund, parks and recreational fund, and the municipal self-insurance fund.
Councilwoman Vanderwell.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yep. 9.3, consideration, discussion, and possible approval to purchase stop-loss insurance from Berkshire Hathaway for the city's self-funded group health plan for fiscal year 2025 in the amount of $688,186 and to authorize the city manager to execute policy documents.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council members. Ariana Wichapa, Human Resources Senior Analyst for the record. The item in front of you today is our yearly stop-loss insurance cost that we bring to you on an annual basis. This year, the rates did go up from all of the competing organizations, with Berkshire Hathaway having the most, what's the word I'm looking for here? Competitive rate for the city at an increase of 8.1%. Costing the city a total of $688,186 to purchase stop loss for fiscal year 25. And I do have Nate Kerr with LP Insurance here to go over the bidding process and the outcome of those bids that came back.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. Nate Kerr with LP Insurance for the record. This is the time of year, every year we shop the stop-loss insurance coverage. Just a reminder to everyone, the city's employee benefits plan is self-insured, right? So we don't buy it through an insurance company, you insure the risk yourself. And with that type of arrangement comes some potential risk, in particular around the very high dollar shock claims that exist out there. We purchase stop-loss insurance in order to protect the city from those types of coverages. So I just wanted to clarify that. This isn't the insurance plan benefits. This is excess loss risk coverage to protect the plan, more of like a liability insurance. As always, we went out and solicited the market this year. I believe we solicited 14 or 15 different markets, different insurance companies. The responses to that were well within the norm of what we would see typically in the stop loss space. Most carriers on the bid list will decline to quote, to not being competitive. It's very common. Stop loss underwriters, for the most part, it's a pretty simple exercise. If they feel they can beat the current rate, they'll quote. If they don't, they decline. It's really that simple. We did receive 3 carriers that quoted. Obviously, your incumbent carrier, Voya Financial, Berkshire Hathaway, and what was the other one? I think it was
Tokyo Marine.
Tokyo Marine HCC Life. Out of the 3, Berkshire Hathaway was significantly the most affordable option. The renewal from Voya came in at approximately 23.3% above current. Berkshire came in at 8.1%. Tokyo Marine came in at 42.2%. As you can imagine, the discussion was between staying where we're at today or going to Berkshire. At the end of the day, in the discussion, the recommendation was to move to Berkshire Hathaway and leave the specific stop-loss deductible at the current thresholds. However, we, as always, did present some options for higher specific deductibles, so for consideration as well.
Yes, and those options are listed in your agenda item as options 1, 2, and 3. And the recommendation is to move forward with the 8.1% increase, which keeps the premium where it's at $325,000. With that, we can answer any additional questions.
Any questions, comments? I'm trying to give, Councilman Dare.
Yeah, with that said, is there any other, so the stop loss, and is there anything else that came with us going with the lesser rate? Like, is it stop loss at a much higher rate? Do we have to give away our puppy? What is happening with the amount that we're paying? Is there anything else based upon what Voya was doing? And now that if we say yes to this, do we lose anything? Do we gain anything?
No. Part of our exercise is we ask the insurance carriers, which, keep in mind, the stop-loss policy's job is to protect the plan, right? So what is being protected has not changed. We do request and require, they have a provision within their contract called plan mirroring provision. Basically says that if it's in your contract, then they will oblige to cover that, which is what the old carrier was. So as far as contract terms, coverages, exposure, risk, there are no changes in that regard. The only other relevant provision that was inclusive of this process was a laser. There currently is a laser today of $1.2 million, and there will be a laser moving forward at $1.2 million. So the new carrier just matched the current laser provision.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I don't see anything. Perfect. I was looking for a motion. Councilwoman Vanderwell.
I move to approve the purchase of stop-loss insurance from Berkshire Hathaway for the city's self-funded group health plan for fiscal year 2025 in the amount of $688,186 and authorize the city manager to execute the policy documents.
Councilman Dare.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Aye.
Looks like it passes unanimously. Perfect. Thanks, Nate. Thanks,
Thank you.
Ariana. 9.4, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a service agreement AC-6054 between the Regional Emergency Medical Services Authority, the Nevada Nonprofit Corporation, RIMSA, and the City of Sparks through the Sparks Fire Department.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the Sparks City Council, Jeff Sullivan, EMS Chief, Sparks Fire Department, for the record. Today, I'm pleased to be presenting a service agreement and a partnership with RIMSA Health, which will allow us to take our ambulances and provide ground ambulance transport in designated service area. If approved, this agreement would go into effect July 1st, 2024, and that designated service area is Sparks Fire District 5. I have up, so you can see all the blue shaded areas is Fire District 5 out in Spanish Springs. The only thing that's added in there is S46. That's a small map page at the bottom there from District 4. It made sense to include it into the response area because it's right off of Vista. And the ambulance, which will be responding from Station 5, has a great shot into that area, so we included it. This ambulance will operate under the call sign Medic 51, and it will be a 5-year agreement that can automatically renew unless terminated by either party. And although not planned, the agreement could be terminated at any time with or without cause, as long as 30 days written notice is provided. Staffing-wise, it will be staffed 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Again, located out at Station 5. It will be housed out there and responding from there until Station 6 opens in the fall of next year, and then it'll transfer over. It'll be 2 firefighters on the ambulance. One at all times will be a paramedic. And if any vacancies are created, those backfill vacancies can be filled by operators or captains. We have 43 paramedics in the fire department. We have 7 more going to paramedic school through an Assistance to Firefighters grant. So we have a lot of people. I'd anticipate times when we're actually operating dual medic, which is an enhanced service for our department out there as well. Billing and compliance, we're going to recover our cost for our transport services under the current billing rate that REMSA is using. And we'll also honor REMSA Silver Saver memberships. So pretty much anything that's in the REMSA franchise, we're going to abide by, including all the compliance, the response times requirements, the data submission to the District Board of Health, all of that. So we're an extension of REMSA. And mutual aid wise, just so everyone knows, even though the blue shaded area is our response zone, we will, if we're the closest appropriate resource and it's not in District 5, it could be District 4, downtown, high demand for 911, we'll get pulled out of our service area here, and it's just deemed a mutual aid response. And that mutual aid request can go even further out to county or city of Reno. Just in that instance, we want our battalion chief to make the call and authorize one of our resources leaving the city. So with that, we have been working at this since April of 2021. We've acquired the ambulances. A lot of time and effort was put into them, writing the grants, getting the training, augmenting our paramedic pool for this day. So we are very excited to partner with REMSA and provide a higher level of service to the city of Spark. And I'm available to answer any questions. And I also have Adam Hines with REMSA, the COO, who's worked closely with us. He's come up if needed as well.
Councilwoman Vanderwell.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and I appreciate everybody's hard work. I do have a question. The city is currently in negotiations with 731. How will this agreement affect those negotiations, or will it affect the negotiations?
That is a great question. Fire Chief White, would you like to address that, or?
We have had conversations with 731 and shared with them a staffing proposal that there seems to be agreement on, even though that hasn't been formally codified with a signature. We're very optimistic. They said that we can work together, and if we need to be retro on an agreement, that would be something they'd consider as well.
Councilman Dare.
Yes. How will REMSA and us communicate? Because right now that's a problem and won't be fixed for a couple of years. How are we going to temporarily communicate between, so we know who's the closest and who's doing what?
So we will be using 2 mobile data terminals, and we'll be switching between frequencies. That's the way Truckee Meadows Fire did it when they first started until they moved over to REMSA as their dispatch. So we'll essentially be using 2 computers to mark en route and arrival and all of that. The nice benefit, though, is we'll have immediate access to REMSA's dispatch and their CAD system and continual live updates that may have not been shared as quickly back to Sparks dispatch at the time. So while it might be a little extra work managing 2 computers that you're going en route with Sparks and going en route with Reno, we're hoping that timeline of the new CAD system that will that is not multiple years. We're hoping a year and a half out.
I want to say I appreciate everyone working on this, and REMSA, thank you for being here and for this conversation. My hope is that we seamlessly find a way to work together. I think you're saying that in the end, and yes. I'm just saying it out loud because I really want to say it really loud.
Please.
So for everyone in the room and everyone hearing that is where our goal is. And I say that to the whole region. That is our goal, is that we work seamlessly because it's about our patients, it's about those who are hurting, and we will deal with the consequences of us, but we have to be there fastest and best for our community. So thank you. And really hats off to you, Remsa. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Councilman Anderson?
Just have a question for our citizens. When they call 911, what is going to be the difference now? As us having ambulance units versus it normally being REMSA?
So there will still be all the REMSA units in the system. We're adding one additional system, and the reason we pursued providing ground transport was so that in an effort to save lives, we wanted to provide transporting services so that we could deliver the highest level of pre-hospital care possible. I'm pretty excited about this step. I feel that this will be perhaps one of the biggest service enhancements that we've provided our community in decades. And I think that what we are doing is further, we're not taking from, we are adding to the emergency medical transportation system in our area.
Thank you. What about the call portion of it? How will that be handled?
I'm not sure I understand that.
So if I dial 911 and tell them I have a medical emergency, how's the call handled from that point on?
Okay, it'll be handled exactly how it is today. That'll be received by a public safety answering point, whether that is Sparks Dispatch, more than likely, or Washoe County or Reno. And the call, if it's medical in nature, will be immediately transferred to REMSA's dispatch center for deployment of resources. So the closest available, most appropriate resource should be dispatched in every circumstance.
So ultimately, overall, we're going to provide better services to the citizen.
Exactly, and that's been our driving goal since we started this process, which began prior to my arrival in the city of Sparks.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Councilman Bybee?
Kind of following up on what Councilman Anderson just asked about, if I were to call 911 and dispatch sends out a unit, you don't always know at the time that you're going to need transport. So, but we do know it's a medical emergency. You know, whether it's a heart attack or somebody fell off a ladder, you know it's medical in nature. Will our ambulance answer that call with our paramedics? And if transport isn't needed, they're still there to provide aid? Is our engine still going out? Is REMSA coming in? I mean, how do we know now that we've got the ability to transport? You know, in the past, we would answer the calls, and if we needed transport, we're hooked in with REMSA, and we would have to depend on them for that transport. But now that we have that ability, when that call is made, what happens? Could it be an engine that shows up? Or how do you know? You don't know till they get on scene if transport is needed, correct? So kind of clarify that a little bit for me.
Okay. So right now we do have the ladder truck, commonly ladder 51, sometimes an engine if it's in its place responding. Depending on the acuity of the call, like if it's a critical call, comes in as a cardiac arrest or something that's going to require a lot of manpower, you're going to get both resources coming at the same time. Otherwise, if through REMSA's dispatch system, if it continues to downgrade the acuity of the emergency to something lower that doesn't require both a fire truck and an ambulance, Medic 51 will be responding. They'll get on scene, they'll perform an assessment, and if transport is desired, they will then effect transport.
Okay, so we still, the call when it first comes in could get our ambulance and one of our trucks or ladder trucks could come. You'd still have two responding to a scene. The difference obviously is that we can transport versus REMSA transporting, but we would still have two, unless as the call comes in, you realize that you don't need that transport, and then the engine would have addressed the situation at that time, and would they call them off then? I'm just looking at resources and how efficient, to be the most efficient, and obviously top priority, which I really appreciate. I wanted to thank you and REMSA and all the partners, because at the end of the day, most important thing is the health and well-being of our residents. And so and seconds matter, you know, in a medical response. So every second, every minute it takes longer for them to be there or for transport to happen, are lives affected or lives lost. So that's our top priority, and I think we're all on the same page there. I was just kind of a little bit, looking at efficiencies of, how many people we're sending out to a call and the use of our equipment to get there. And that's all set up, I would guess. That's all set up ahead of time. You guys would know, dispatch would know who's called, how many people you need to respond.
Correct. Yes, the dispatchers will receive the call, identify the address type, and they'll know which units to send.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's some emergency medical dispatching criteria where they determine the priority level of the call. And there's times when it's warranted to send both a lot of times, if the engine is closer, they can get there, do the initial patient assessment and stabilization while the ambulance is en route. And if it turns out to be high acuity or priority 1 call, like a cardiac arrest, then, American Heart Association standards suggest that 5 providers is really, the sufficient number to deliver that level of pre-hospital medical care. So all of our dispatches are going through an EMD process, and so we can determine the appropriate amount and available closest resource to send.
Awesome. Anyone else? Looking for a motion then. Councilman Dare.
I'm excited to move and approve a 5-year agreement, AC 6054, between Remza Health and the Sparks Fire Department, authorizing the Sparks Fire Department, it just moved on me, to respond and to provide ambulance transport services with Remza franchise service area.
Councilman Anderson.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Please vote. Passes unanimously. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Chief.
Good job.
Thank you. And thank you, Remza.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Off to 9.5, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a 3-year billing services contract AC-6055 with Marshall EMS Billing with a cost of 6% of the monthly collections or a minimum fee of $500 per month. Jeff.
Mayor Pro Tem, members of the Sparks City Council, Jeff Sullivan, EMS Chief, Sparks Fire, for the record. Following the presentation and the agreement we just had, we mentioned the billing portion. This is where we need a third-party billing company's assistance. So today I'm presenting a 3-year agreement with Marshall EMS Billing to provide ambulance billing services as we initiate ground ambulance transport. We have used Marshall Billing. Well, first of all, they were recommended by both Reno Fire and Truckee Meadows Fire, who are currently using them for their billing services. They recommended that Marshall EMS Billing assist us during our credentialing of Medicare and Medicaid applications, as well as establishing what's called a National Provider Identifier Number, which is a requirement for transactions with Medicare and Medicaid electronically. We have used Marshall Billing for approximately a year now, have established a strong relationship reinforced by the recommendations of our regional partners, and we want to continue this professional services agreement with them in ambulance transport billing. This contract has been reviewed by risk management, finance, as well as the city attorney's office. The terms of the agreement's 3 years, which will automatically renew for another 3 years. And it does have a termination clause that either party, with or without cause, can exit the agreement at this time 60 days written notice. And as mentioned, the monthly fee is 6% of monthly collections with the minimum fee of $500, and the setup fee has been waived. So based on our great experience with this local company also, which that does matter because they know Nevada billing quite well and codes and everything, they're ideal for us even as a regional approach. And others were explored. We just had a great working relationship with Marshall Billing.
Sullivan, any questions or comments? Councilman Dare?
My only question is, are we allowed just to choose, or do we have to put out for bid? Just technical. We usually put things out to bid, and we approve this, is that a issue?
Did you want to answer that, sir? From what I had gathered, going through the city attorney's office, as well as our risk management, it was a professional services agreement that did not require. Is that? Okay.
Don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, no, thank you.
No, it's all
I don't want to get in trouble either.
Professional service. I have a quick one, Mr. Sullivan. So on the 6% or $500 per month, how many calls do we think we need to run to get above $500?
Well, the estimated call volume transport-wise would be between 4 and 5 a day, but some of that's also going to fluctuate with your payer mix, your demographic payer mix. So like Medicaid is naturally a lower amount as opposed to commercial insurance. So I would think rough estimate, 2.5 to 3 transports per day.
Okay. Just ballpark. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? I don't see any looking for a motion. Councilman Anderson.
I move to approve the 3-year billing services contract AC 6055 with Marshall EMS Billing with a cost of 6% of monthly collections or a minimum of, sorry, it moved and I lost my place. Minimum fee of $500 per month.
Councilwoman Bybee.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, motion and second, all in favor, please vote. Passes unanimously. Perfect.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you.
9.6, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of resolution number 3449 governing confidential employees for the period July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 with no direct financial impact. Ms. McCormick.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Abbott and City Council. For the record, I'm Allison McCormick, your Assistant City Manager. I'm seeking approval of a resolution governing wages and benefits for employees in the confidential employees group. In short, confidential employees are those who perform administrative support roles in labor negotiations. That's why they are separate from a union. In May of 2024, staff met with the confidential employees group to seek their input on potential changes to their resolution. The group brought several ideas forward, and the proposed resolution would implement 2 of those. The first was to increase personal leave from 2 days to 30 hours. Employees in this group sometimes work modified work schedules like 410s, so having the personal leave allocation in days rather than hours wasn't equitable for this employee group. In addition, increasing the leave by between 10 to 14 hours, again, depending on the employee's schedule, benefits this employee group. There's no direct cost impact, but of course, employees with more personal leave won't use annual leave at the same rate. Second, this would allow employees to cash out annual leave in any increment. Currently, employees can cash out up to 80 hours of annual leave, but they must cash it out in 40-hour increments. This keeps that 80-hour cap, but they could cash out 1 hour or 79 hours, up to them. Staff recommends approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Don't see any. Looking for a motion. Councilwoman Bybee.
I move to approve resolution number 3449 governing confidential employees for the period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 with no direct financial impact.
Councilman Anderson.
Second the motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you. 9.7, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of resolution number 3448, governing management, professional, and technical employees for the period July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, with estimated cost increase of $9,100 to the general fund in FY25.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Again, for the record, I'm Assistant City Manager Allison McCormick. This resolution, if approved, would govern the management, professional, and technical employees, essentially our mid-managers. In April of 2024, staff met with the employees in this group to get their feedback about changes they'd like to see in their benefits. The employees offered a wide range of suggestions, and the proposed resolution would implement several of them. First, this would increase bilingual pay from $100 a pay period to $150 a pay period. That is the same as was negotiated with our sworn police personnel last fiscal year. That would increase costs to the city by approximately $9,100. The resolution also proposes to eliminate cell phone stipends in favor of city-issued cell phones. This will save the city money on the stipend, but of course there's costs associated with that that will offset that. It also enables our IT team to better manage security, apps, those kinds of things on city-owned devices. This resolution would also decrease the value of sick leave conversion to health insurance premiums at retirement at 10 years of service from 65% of the value of the accrued leave down to 50%. At the same time, this would increase the value of sick leave cash out for those same employees at retirement from 30% to 50%. The financial impact of that particular change can't really be predicted with any reasonable certainty because it depends on who chooses to retire and when and what choice they actually make about cash out or. This would also increase the hours of annual leave that an employee may cash out from 80 to 120 hours. There's no direct financial impact from that change. This would also provide 40 hours of personal leave to each employee in this group rather than between 3 and 5 days. Similar to the confidential employees group, these employees sometimes work modified work schedules like 410s. So putting it equal across the board in hours is more fair to employees in this group. In addition, the choice between 3 and 5 days in the current resolution is left up to the department director, and there's no real guide rails on that decision. So employees sometimes feel like they're not being treated. Staff recommends approval of this resolution, and I'm happy to answer any.
Any questions or comments? I don't see any. Looking for a motion. Councilman Dare.
I move to approve resolution number 3448, governing management, professional, and technical employees for the period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, with estimated cost increases of $9,100 to the general fund in FY25.
Councilman Anderson.
Second the motion.
Motion and a second. Please vote. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 9.8, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a settlement agreement AC-6057 and mutual release of all claims relating to acting pay for the City of Sparks employee in the Fire Prevention Division of Sparks Fire Department with a total cost of $101,160. Chief Crawford.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, members of City Council. For the record, I'm Chris Crawford, your police chief. Next to me is Tom Dunn, the Vice President of Local 731. When I became your acting city manager, I met with Local 731 to hear this grievance as part of their grievance procedures. They provided the documentation identifying these issues. Before you today is a settlement agreement between the City of Sparks and Local 731. As you may recall, Fire Marshal McMasters retired from the city in March of 23. From 2019 to 2024, the city had a period of time with either no fire marshal or no assistant fire marshal. From 2023 until Fire Marshal Chu was hired, there was no fire marshal. The fire department was also in a state of transition of fire chiefs, and the fire department did not appoint any of our fire prevention personnel into an acting role to cover those responsibilities. However, the work of the Fire Prevention Bureau continued, and our 5 employees in fire prevention completed the tasks needed by the city. The city did not observe any disruption in services. The resolution before you today is the agreement that corrects the oversight of no acting pay for those taking on the additional duties. This brings us to the settlement agreement, which if approved, the city will pay each of the 5 employees a sum of $20,000 for those acting services. There is an additional cost of approximately $1,160 that the city will pay for Medicare tax for this payout. I do want to thank our 5 prevention employees for stepping up in our time of need, for their dedication, and 3 of them are with us here today. I will turn it over to Tom Dunn, and when he's done, I'll be present for any questions, as will he.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, for the record, Tom Dunn, Vice President in Reno Sparks and Airport Firefighters, Local 731. I think it's important to recognize that for over a decade, there hasn't been any new employees hired within the Fire Prevention Bureau. And along those same lines, there has been a incredibly limited amount of availability for them to promote into additional positions within the fire department. However, the workload has increased, the number of inspections has increased, the number of plan reviews has increased, and the budget of the fire department remained significantly flat or reduced due to the recession as well as COVID and budgetary constraints on the city. So what this settlement agreement does is, number one, recognizes the outstanding work that was performed without delay to the citizens and taxpayers of the city of Sparks. Thank you.
Sir, any questions or comments on 9.8? Councilman Anderson.
I want to say thank you for bringing this to our attention. That's something that I feel strongly that we need to make sure that people are compensated correctly for the work they're doing. And for those of you that are here with us today that stepped into the gap, I want to say thank you very much for filling that role in a time of need. We truly appreciate it.
Councilman Dare.
I just want to say thank you to the team as well. Obviously, a lot was going on during that time, and we could stack up all the stuff, but it doesn't change the fact that you guys stepped into a place and made it all happen. So thank you.
Councilwoman Bybee.
I'd like to also echo my appreciation to all of you in fire prevention, and really the fact that they did step up a small amount of people with a large amount of work, and that I think absolutely, whether an oversight or however we wound up here, I'm glad that we recognized it and discovered it. Chief Crawford, I appreciate that, and definitely to recognize the work that was done, and we should be compensating our employees for that, and thank you guys for the job. Job well done and much appreciated. So glad that we were able to rectify this. I guess after we vote, I guess I better not jump the gun here, okay?
And I'll hop in and say definitely thank you to both of you for coming to an agreement here, and the three of you that are in attendance plus the other two. Yeah, you guys do an amazing job of, oh, I'm so sorry, of keeping us all safe. You know, but you guys doing your job that helps the other side of the house, prevent the fires, keep everyone safe. You guys do a lot of great outreach to our community, so appreciate you stepping up and doing what you're doing. So, Councilwoman Vanderwell, sorry.
I want to echo what everybody else has said, but I thank you for everyone working together to find this a positive solution. And yes, thank you for stepping up and filling in a gap and making sure that our citizens never saw that there was any gap in services. So greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Anyone else? I don't see anything. Anything else from you two? Good to go? Sure. Looking for a motion then. Councilwoman Vanderwell.
I move to approve the settlement agreement AC 6057 and mutual release of all claims relating to active pay for City of Sparks employees in the Fire Prevention Division of the Sparks Fire Department with a total cost of $101,160.
Councilman Anderson.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you all.
Thank you.
9.9 passes back to the birthday lady.
Thank you.
Torres.
We have 3 first readings. First reading of Bill Number 2821, an ordinance creating the City of Sparks, Nevada Special Improvement District Number 1, Five Ridges, ordering a street project, storm sewer project, sanitary sewer project, drainage project, and water project within the City of Sparks, Nevada, and providing other matters related to thereto. A public hearing will be held, and Bill 2821 will be acted upon at the regular meeting of the Sparks City Council on Monday, July 22nd, 2024 at 2 p.m. Let me just keep going.
9.10.
This is a first reading for Bill Number 2822, an ordinance concerning the City of Sparks, Nevada Special Improvement District Number 1, Five Ridges, assessing the cost of local improvements against the assessable property benefited by the local improvements and providing other matters related thereto. A public hearing will be held, and Bill 2822 will be acted upon at the regular meeting of the Sparks City Council on Monday, July 22nd, 2024 at 2 p.m.
9.11.
This is first reading of Bill Number 2823, an ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale by the city of its Special Improvement District Number 1, Five Ridges, Local Improvement Bonds Series 2024 in the maximum aggregate principal amount of $11,845,000. Approving the form of certain documents and respect to such bonds, ratifying action taken by city officers toward the issuance of such bonds, and providing other matters related thereto. A public hearing will be held and Bill 2823 will be acted upon at the regular meeting of the Sparks City Council on Monday, July 22nd, 2024 at 2 p.m. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Items 10.1, public hearing action items. So we have a public hearing, consideration, discussion, and possible adoption of resolution number 3445, establishing a fee to recoup actual costs for credit card and debit card transaction processing.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council members. For the record, my name is Kayla Neff, your Operations Accounting Manager. In November 2023, City Council had approved resolution number 3433, which included a fee to recoup the actual costs for credit card transactions within the Development Services Enterprise. The resolution I'm presenting today expands those convenience fees to recoup actual costs to credit card transactions within the city. The proposed convenience fee will not exceed fees incurred by the city as required by NRS. This fee is dependent on the charge. Applying the convenience fee would be effective upon adoption of the resolution. Once implemented, this action is expected to reduce the expenditures by approximately $530,000 per year. However, due to software limitations, some transaction types may take longer to implement. And as a reminder, this is a public, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Ms. Neff. Any questions or comments? Councilman Dare.
Yeah, it's a silly question, but it's one that I want to make sure it's out there. So people still can pay by check.
Yes, they can still pay by check, cash, or ACH.
So this is truly a convenience fee. And so we're not saying this is the only way you can pay. I'm just saying it loudly for all to hear who might be out there. So,
Yes, you are correct.
yeah.
There are other options to pay.
Thank you. I want to make sure that's accurate. Thank you.
Councilwoman Vanderwall.
Thank you. And it was brought up that there are issues finding software that's compatible. The thing is there are other cities that are using it. So are we checking with other cities to see how we can implement this quicker so we don't continue to lose the money at the rate we are?
Yes, the Client Relations Department is going to be working with our various cities to see what other options that they're using, and perhaps we
Any other questions or comments before I open it up? The public hearing. Do we have any public comment on it? If you do, let us know. I don't have any cards. We're good. Close it. We're looking for a motion. Councilman Anderson.
Move to approve resolution number 3445, establishing a fee to recoup actual costs for credit card and debit card transaction processing.
Councilman Dare.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you. 10.2, public hearing, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a memorandum of understanding between the City of Sparks and Operating Engineers Local Number 3, Skilled Workforce AC-5863, revising job titles in the Parks and Recreation Department and accompanying updates to the employee complement with no direct financial impact. Ms. McCormick.
Hello again, Mayor Pro Tem Abbott and City Council. I am still Allison McCormick, your Assistant City Manager. With your leave, Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to present items 10.2 and 10.3 together.
Perfect.
Thank you. Each item does require its own public hearing. Before you for consideration are two memoranda of understanding, or MOUs, with Operating Engineers Local Number 3. Several months ago, city staff, in coordination with OE3's representatives, identified a lack of a clear career ladder in the Parks and Recreation Department. These MOUs are intended to correct that by separating out supervisor positions from specialist positions. There are two bargaining units that are separate, but both are represented by OE3. Those are the Skilled Workforce Group and the Supervisors Group. Currently, the following position titles are covered by the Skilled Workforce Group: Recreation Specialist 1, Recreation Specialist 2, and Aquatic Specialist. The MOU with the Skilled Workforce Bargaining Unit would eliminate the position of Recreation Specialist 2, remove the 1 from Recreation Specialist, just leaving Recreation Specialist and Aquatic Specialist in that bargaining. The MOU with the Supervisors Bargaining Unit would create a new recreation specialist or recreation supervisor position and a new aquatic supervisor position. These changes would more clearly differentiate between entry-level and supervisory personnel, while also creating a clearer career path for folks to go from entry-level positions to supervisor positions to manager positions if they so chose. I would like to thank OE3's representatives and the employees covered by these changes for working with us on this good solution. Staff recommends approval of both MOUs and which does require its. With that, I am happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Mr. McCormick? I don't see any. We'll open up the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone? Close. We're looking for a motion for 10.2. Councilman Dare.
I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Sparks and Operating Engineers Local Number 3 Skilled Workforce, AC 5863, revising job titles in the Parks and Recreation Department and accompanying updates to the employee complement with no direct financial impact.
Councilwoman Vanderwall.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Passes unanimously. 10.3. Did anyone have any questions or comments on that before I open that one up for public comment? Don't see any. Is anyone from the public wanting to make some comment on it? And once again, none. We'll close public comment. Bring it back to us. Looking for a motion on 10.3. Councilwoman Vanderwall.
Move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Sparks and Operating Engineers Local Number 3 Supervisors, AC-5870, revising job titles in the Parks and Recreation Department and accompanying updates to the employee complement with no direct financial impact.
Councilwoman Vibe.
I will second that motion.
Motion and a second. Please vote. Passes unanimously. Awesome. 10.4. Public hearing, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a memorandum of understanding between the City of Sparks and Sparks Police Protective Association, AC-6023, regarding carryover of compensatory time with no direct financial impact. That's the right way to say that word, but we're going to take it.
It'll do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I remain Allison McCormick. Hopefully, I remain your Assistant City Manager. I am seeking your approval of an MOU with Sparks Police Protective Association, or SPPA, which represents our police officers. Compensatory time, or comp time works too, is time off that employees can accrue instead of being paid for overtime hours worked. Currently, officers are able to carry over up to 96 hours of compensatory time from one fiscal year to the next. Staff recently received a request from an employee to carry over more compensatory time due to an anticipated medical event. Staff was inclined to grant the request, but the current collective bargaining agreement does not provide any flexibility. Therefore, the proposed MOU would allow an employee experiencing a Family and Medical Leave Act, or FMLA, qualifying event to carry over up to 250 hours of compensatory time from one fiscal year to the next to be able to use that time to be paid during their FMLA time. There is no direct cost impact from this change. I'd like to thank SPPA and their representatives for being willing to work with us. The request came in just earlier this month. We were able to get this quickly with their assistance. Again, a public hearing is required for this item, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments? Compensatory time? Learn a new word every day. I don't see any. We'll open it up for public comment. Anyone from the public? I don't see anyone. We'll close it. Bring it back to us. Looking for a motion. Councilman Anderson.
Move to approve memorandum of understanding between City of Sparks, Sparks Police Protective Association, AC 6023, regarding carryover of compensatory time with no direct financial impact.
Councilwoman Bybee.
I will second that motion.
Motion and a second. Please vote. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. 11.1. Ms. Torres.
Thank you. This is a first reading of Bill 2824 to amend the Spanish Springs Town Center Plan Development, Spanish Springs Town Center Development Plan Design Standards and Regulations Handbook to, 1, eliminate the requirement for many warehouse facilities to incorporate a manager residence, 2, increase maximum height of many warehouse uses from 26 feet to 35 feet when located at least 50 feet from the property line, 3, require approval of conditional use permit for many warehouse uses over 26 feet in height, and 4, add development standards for climate-controlled mini warehouse facilities on an approximately 8.9 acre site generally located east of Galleria Parkway and south of Los Altos Parkway, APN 510-49115 through 17, in the new Urban District Spanish Springs Town Center zoning district. A public hearing will be held, and Bill 2824 will be acted upon at the regular meeting of the Sparks City Council on Monday, July 22nd, 2024 at 2 p.m.
Very much. 12.1, any public comment? I don't have any cards. Is anyone coming down either? So we'll close that. Go to 12.2, announcements from the mayor, city council, city manager. Start with you, Mr. Luthen.
No announcements from the city manager. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
I believe Councilman Dare, you might have something?
Yeah, I have 2 items to the city manager. I'd like to direct city manager to have staff bring back 2 items for consideration by the council to potentially amend Title 20's regulation respective to the location, accessory structures less than 200 square feet. And then the second item is for city manager to bring back an item respective to fence heights in Kylie Ranch South. Currently, the maximum residential fence heights are 6 feet. I'd like for the consideration to possibly direct staff to amend the handbook to allow fence heights up to 8 feet when backing up to an arterial. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Anyone? Perfect.
I have one more.
Oh,
I'd like
that's right.
Well, actually, I'll wait on that. I just want to again invite people to July 1st. We just got to put in Ron Smith Education Path. It's going to be a wonderful time. I want to definitely invite all of us down there if you're available at 11 a.m. And we'll be having a ribbon cutting. And at the ribbon cutting, it'll be not only the path for Ron Smith to remember him, but also the Constitution, Bill of Rights, and our Declaration of Independence will be open for everybody from then forever. So it's very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Bybee?
And I think I'd like everyone to know tomorrow night, and I'm sure, Julie, it's open to the public, right? We have a ceremony to celebrate our forecourt project, which I know that sounds weird. You're like, forecourt, what the heck is a forecourt? Basically, it's the beautiful shade structure, which is art and shade, and a place to sit right out in front of the Nugget Event Center. So along Victorian, those beautiful, I call them water lilies, will tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, we will be, the council and Mayor Pro Tem at least, will be at Victorian Square at the Forecourt Project, and invite anyone who wants to come down and celebrate just a beautiful addition to our Victorian Square.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Anybody else? No. We will adjourn at 3:56.
Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, do not go anywhere.
I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Sparks Redevelopment Agency on Monday, June 24th, 2024, with a roll call.
Chairperson Bybee?
Here.
Ed Lawson is absent. Members Donald Abbott?
Here.
Diane Vanderwell?
Here.
Paul Anderson?
Here.
Christopher Dare?
Here.
Chief Administrative Officer Luthen?
Here.
Chief Legal Officer Duncan. We have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on to item 3, public comment. Do I have any public comment? Seeing none, I will close item 3.1. Moving on to item 4.1, approval of the agenda. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda. Agency Member Vanderwell,
Move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Agency Member Anderson.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, please vote. Motion carries unanimously of those of us present. Moving on to item 5.1, consideration, discussion, possible approval of the minutes of the Sparks Redevelopment Agency meeting for May 28th, 2024. Do I have any corrections, additions, or a motion to approve? Agency Member Abbott?
Motion to approve.
Agency Member Dare?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 6.1, consideration, possible acceptance of the report of the bills and claims approved for payment and appropriation transfers for the period of May 14th, 2024 through June 10th, 2024. Looking for a motion to approve. Agency Member Vanderwell.
Move to accept the report of claims and bills and the appropriation transfers for the period of May 14th, 2024 through June 10th, 2024.
Second.
Agency Member Abbott.
Oh, sorry, second.
You're jumping
I am.
the gun.
Sorry.
I have a motion. I have a second. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 7.1. Consideration, discussion, and possible approval of resolution number SRA 139 to augment the fiscal year 24 budget of the redevelopment area 2 capital projects fund by $3,994,700 to provide appropriation for capital projects. Mr. Weber.
Good afternoon, Chair Member Bybee, members of the redevelopment area. For the record, Wayne Weber, your budget manager. Resolution SAR 139 is our annual budget compliance item. Today, we seek your approval to augment the redevelopment area 2 budget in the amount of $3,994,700. The majority of these adjustments come from committed and completed projects from RDA 1. And with that, I can certainly answer any questions.
I have questions or comments? So Wayne, basically for anyone who is listening that doesn't know what RDA 1 is, it's our first redevelopment agency that expired. And so projects that are complete, the funds, because they're redevelopment agency funds, are simply transferred over to redevelopment agent area 2.
Correct. When the agency terminated, we had committed and budgeted projects.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to move that to our redevelopment area 2 to pay for them. So yes.
Okay, perfect. Any other comments? If not, looking for a motion. Agency Member Abbott.
I move to approve resolution number SRA-139 to augment the FY24 budget for the redevelopment area 2 capital projects fund by $3,994,700 to provide appropriation for capital projects.
Agency Member Dare.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Not, please vote. Now it is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wayne. Okay, moving on to 8.1, comments from the public. Do we have any comments from the public? No? Seeing none, I will close item 8.1. Announcements from the agency and Chief Administrative Officer. Mr. Manager?
No announcements, thank you.
Okay, anyone else in the agency? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.